Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the After Hours Gaming League season number 5, week number 4. My name is Fear Dragon, and I am going to be your caster for today because we're going to be checking out Amazon versus Google, as you can see down there. Says that nice and plainly because we're going to be getting started very soon. The players are already in the lobby. They're getting ready. We're getting set up, but this is going to be a really great series, all right? For those of you who don't know what the After Hours Gaming League is, After Hours Gaming League is a really great competition where different tech companies and big organizations and some even not tech companies will get together and they'll just play some StarCraft, kind of like an intramural sport. And it's really great. It's really awesome. I highly commend everyone that actually participates in these leagues, and of course also highly recommend to anyone that if you are working at some company, try and get a team together for the AHGL if you don't already have one. But with that being said, let's talk a little bit about these two teams, because there's a little bit of a rivalry going on between these two teams. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. So Amazon used to, first of all, let's start with Amazon and this guy named Cicero, all right? This guy named Cicero, who used to be the team captain of Amazon, but hearken, he was a traitor to Amazon and left to Google and is now working for them. Congratulations, by the way, Neil, on your job and everything, but, in the context of this story, oh my god, what a traitor. He left because he wanted to join the Google After Hours Gaming League team and leave the Amazon AHGL team. Oh man. Well, of course, this means that there is that nice rivalry going on. Of course, there's also, from AHGL Season 4, a really great story, because these two teams actually hit each other in the quarterfinals, and Google had a very close victory over Amazon, 4-3, so they have already been proven statistically from the past that they are capable and actually more likely to beat Amazon right now. But we take a look at this season, and it's a very interesting story. Now, right now, Amazon is sitting 3-0 in the HGL. This is the group stages. So obviously, very early on, we're again only in week 4, so there's only 3 matches that have been played out. But currently, Amazon is actually up 3-0 in their group, and Google is actually 2-1. They actually have already lost a match that I believe was against Microsoft. Now, no shame in losing to Microsoft. Microsoft is a pretty awesome, great team. They've only won a couple of After Hours Gaming Leagues in multiple different games, but still 2-1, a little bit of a hint of pain, I think, in losing a series this early on in the season. It's nice to have that clean, perfect win record. I would say that Amazon's teams that they've been going up against, good teams, but not necessarily at the same level as maybe again, a Microsoft or something. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how this is going to play out. I would say that both of these teams have a great opportunity to win, but let's go ahead and jump in and introduce the players as we spawn down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map on top of the blue Zerg player representing Team Google. It is going to be T-Scuzzy. And his opponent spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, Inferno Pools, is going to be the orange Terran player representing Team Amazon Pain Forest. It is Kiri. And we'll leave the observer chat on for now, okay? Well, just for a little bit, but if it gets a little bit too crazy, we'll go ahead and turn it off, okay? How does that sound? Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get this series started. We have already got started with a TVZ, a very fun one, a very fun chat being taken out because, you know what, sometimes the chat gets a little bit too antsy. And, I enjoy the fact that players like to chat, they like to interact with each other and talk about the game, sometimes talking about things that are not the game. But it's cool. It's all in the good fun of sportsmanship and everything. It's just unfortunately does cloud up the entire screen, so we won't be able to see what's going on. So we're gonna leave it off for now. Totally fine though. And taking a look at how these two players are opening up, I want to know that these two teams are some of the best teams that are in the HGL. I think alongside teams like Microsoft, Google, and Amazon are definitely some of the top teams that we should be on the lookout for potentially even winning the entire thing. So we're going to be seeing some higher level of play, not necessarily like the same bronze, silver, gold league play, more platinum, diamond, and master league play. But it should be very, very interesting to see what these two teams have in store for us. We already have a gas first into a spawning pool, so very, very safe play out of TS Cuzzy, or T Scuzzy, however you want to say it. And actually being very, very cautious, worried about proxy racks. I know that Amazon does have a little bit of a reputation for sometimes being a bit of a cheesy team, but we take a look at what Kiri's up to. Kiri's looking pretty standard. I mean, going for the Reaper opening, taking guys off of gas to go for that early expansion immediately after. It's going to be a 1-rax expansion most likely, as you can see. No guys mining gas anymore. And Kiri going to be looking to just play it out nice and safe and standard. Nothing too crazy coming up for either of these players. We got a reactor coming down. Wouldn't be too surprised to see the factory plop down alongside it sometime in the near future. But first, we're going to probably be seeing that good old command center and a couple of Marines being popped out, I imagine. Just because, you know, hard to make a factory if you don't have any gas. Am I right? Well, Kiri's going to be sending that Reaper across the map, and unfortunately for him, he's not going to be able to accomplish too much because the Queen is going to be nicely popping out right on time. Now, both these players getting kind of pretty lucky with the scouts. Well, I'll say at least the Terran player from Team Amazon getting a bit lucky with the scouts, as you can see. Moving in the right location the first time. So, but even still, if you are up against that early of a spawning pool as well as the gas geyser, it's going to be very difficult to make a whole lot happen with your Reaper besides getting initial scouting information and seeing, okay, gas geyser was taken, I can expect a relatively early speed. So if I move out with, say, Hellions that, you know, I'm not making right now, I'm making Marines, I have to be a bit careful. And of course, you do also have to be a bit careful about any kind of early aggression that can happen, because you can already see T Scuzzy, having gone for that early gas geyser, wants to make sure they can make use of that Zergling speed early on. Making 12 Zerglings, already has 6 out on the map, and is going to be looking to try and get a bit of a denial on this natural expansion. Maybe try and force a liftoff or something of the sort. But ooh, Overlord getting caught a bit out of position. This is going to supply block T Scuzzy. Kind of put him a bit further behind from where he would like to be. He wanted to make around 12 to 16 Zerglings, and then just drone up behind it, do a little bit of early pressure and drone up, but that's going to kind of delay this. You can see once again supply blocked and Overlord only just now kind of on the way, but these Zerglings are going to be able to do a nice little bit of damage, at least being able to deny this natural expansion for a little bit. And oh my god, the supply depot is down. Team Amazon having Zerglings run straight into the base, and there are enough Zerglings over here to take out every single one of these Marines and also start doing a lot of economic damage. Oh no, this is spelling disaster for Team Amazon, but great news for Team Google already taking a substantial lead. You can see here in the workers killed count, 8 workers killed. There's not actually an expansion coming down behind. We just had additional barracks. Taking a look at the income tab, oh my god, the workers killed is just doing massive amounts of economic damage to Team Amazon's Kiri. As we can see, 10 workers to 30 right now, and still a couple more are going to end up falling. 8, 7, 7 workers left for Kiri. This is absolute worst case scenario, because here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, is okay, haven't seen a GG out just yet, but here's the thing about this, is that not only did T Scuzzy kill off all those workers, he killed off the entire army of Kiri. Normally you'd say, okay, if you just went in, sacrificed your Zerglings to try and do economic damage, and you did massive economic damage, but my army's still alive, I go for a counterattack and try and equalize. That's the opportunity that you're given. But T Scuzzy killed off the army and then killed off all of those workers. The only thing that was not actually killed off was the tech, and I suppose this natural command center. But even the tech was delayed because the SCV building that factory was killed off, and it got halted for quite a bit of time. That's going to have given T Scuzzy ample opportunity to sort of drone up and also get up his own tech. You can see we've got 4 gas geysers already down, got evolution chambers coming up, roach warren coming up, because you know what, if your opponent doesn't really have too much, doesn't have any real capabilities to make a lot of units, or doesn't have the economy to produce massive marauder production or siege tanks or anything like that, well then roaches are going to be great. Roaches are going to do fantastic against Marines in terms of soaking up that early damage. And you get some banelings behind it to back it up. You get up your layer attack, just kind of play it a little bit on the safer side. Make sure that you don't take too much damage. Just say drop play, and you are going to be in a great place. And what's up, Cybert, in the chat? Factories require gas. A great analysis. Thank you very much, Cybert, for your input on my analysis. I'm glad that I can provide the high-level commentary that is needed. And for those of you on YouTube, this is also being live casted, of course. But we see Starport coming down. We're going to be seeing a Tech Lab coming out. So Banshee play is going to be the follow-up for Kiri. I like this play because you know what? Kiri has to take a big risk. And he has to be able to equalize by doing a massive amount of damage. And you know what? Banshee's pretty good if your opponent is unprepared at doing that massive amount of damage. Now, Bunker is now being loaded up over here for Kiri, trying to complete this wall, because you know what? Whatever damage you do doesn't really matter if your opponent can just run in with Zerglings again and kill off every single worker you have at your natural expansion. So, gonna be going for that eventual wall up, but the roach count is starting to build up. I honestly would love to see T-Scuzzy go for that third expansion, but looks like T-Scuzzy is kind of just going for a roach speed plus Baneling bust into the natural expansion. So this supply depot wall up, not gonna last for too long. I mean, the bunker is likely gonna be focus fired down by a couple of Banelings, and the roaches are just gonna try and stream on in and do whatever damage they can. Of course, any remaining Banelings very much going to be useful against the Marines, but it's really going to be up to Kiri to know what's going on. This Banshee, unfortunately, actually would be better served maybe back at home trying to deal with the roaches, but even just getting an earlier scout off, because then he would have had the opportunity to throw down 2 or 3, maybe even 4 additional bunkers. I think that's really what he needs right now, because right now he has no idea about this attack. He is completely in the dark. Now he finally realizes the roaches are going to be poking out, but in the meanwhile, this Banshee picking away at a lot of these drones is going to be engaging against the Queen. Is the Banshee actually going to be able to get a whole lot of damage on? He's trying to micro back at home. The Banshee is losing a lot of his health, 23 hit points left over. He does manage to cloak though. The Spore Caller going to be finishing up though, and with the Spore Caller finishing up, if he's not paying attention to it, it can start taking shots. It can start actually losing its life. It ends up losing its life. He loses the Banshee, and back at home, the Roach is dealing massive amounts of damage. We can see back over here in the income tab, 3 workers left over. The SCVs have been pulled to try and get that defense up, and I think that Kiri is going to tap out. Oh no. It looks like Combat Shield also getting canceled, just reducing any additional chances that Kiri has of coming back into this game. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that we're going to be seeing a very, very quick game number 1 going to T-Scuzzy with the early aggression, the early Zergling speed upgrade really, really working out in his favor and be able to do that massive amount of damage. I mean, the Banshees are going to be able to eventually clean up, just because there's absolutely no anti-air. But at what cost, it must be asked. I mean, he's losing barracks. Actually, could very well lose every single barracks he owns. GG gets called, I assume, as the chat was turned off. Don't worry, no BM coming out over there. And Team Google's T-Scuzzy going to be taking game number 1. And very well played by both of those players. But Team Google already saying, you know what? We don't care that we're 2-1 right now in the AHGL Season 5. Because we beat you guys last time. We beat you guys 4-3. So what are you really going to do, all right? It may have seemed like a close series, but guess what? They're already sitting up 1-0. If it just alternates back and forth of 1-0, 1-0, like Google wins, Amazon wins. Google wins, Amazon wins. Guess what? Google wins. Google wins the series in that situation. So Amazon has really got to make sure that they have got all of their balls in the right place. They got to make sure that they have everything accounted for. They can't afford to take those kind of risks necessarily in those games where, you know, you end up losing to the big Speedling attack, right? Sure, I would say that Amazon still has the opportunity. I mean, it's a best of 5. So Google still has to win 3 games. That means that Amazon can afford to lose 1 more game because they try something a little bit risky. But after that, I would still say they're going to be in that uncomfortable position where they may want to consider playing a little bit safer than normal, or you play the exact opposite direction. Don't go in the in-between. You want to go much safer, or you want to go totally greedy and just like try and capitalize on your opponent not being prepared at all. You want to go for like the cheese. You want to go for the economic greed. You want to take hidden expansions or something, or you want to play super safe. Make sure you're constantly scouting out. Go for the early scouts. Don't like skimp out on that kind of stuff. Make sure you have your wall in set up, even if it's going to set you behind just a tad bit. Rely on that good old macro. Or, you know, go for the all-ins. Depends on what kind of player you are. And Chashway from Team Amazon asking why I turned off the chat. Well, it got pretty gosh darn active in there. And wanted to make sure that we were able to focus on the core of the game, of course. But I think that we're just waiting for the final spectators to get into the lobby. And we're going to be jumping into game number 2. Now, game number 2 going to be a very, very cool match because it is going to be between Team Amazon's Metzelmats, who I think amongst Team Amazon, a lot of people there do kind of consider Metzelmats to be one of the strongest players there. And of course, the opponent for Team Google is going to be Team Google's very own Turing, who's actually the team captain of Team Google. And it's a very, very cool thing to see the captain actually get to play. Joshua, unfortunately, not playing, so we didn't get a captain versus captain show match going on. But, you know, regardless, it should be very, very interesting. But, you know, while we're kind of waiting for Metzelmats to get into the game, while we're waiting for everything to get set up, I want to talk a little bit about the After Hours Gaming League. And for those who don't know, what the actual prize is for the AHGL. Because AHGL, it has a fairly big prize pool. I believe it's up to like $5,000 this season or something crazy like that. They have like $30,000 or something absurd going into AHGL this season. But here's the thing. The teams don't actually get the prize money directly. Instead, each team chooses their charity of choice. And the winner of the AHGL gets basically that money, that whatever amount of money gets put in for the After Hours Gaming League first place, as well as second place, third place. They actually, this season, have second, third, etc. places. But that money will go to the charity of their choice. So both of these teams have picked their charities. I know that Team Amazon has always picked Child's Play as their charity of choice. Child's Play, for those who don't know just a little bit about them, is a charity dedicated to improving the lives of children in hospitals around the world through the kindness and generosity of the video game community and the power of play. So that's kind of like their going statement. So if you want to check out more about Child's Play, you can go Google them, do all your kind of good research about them. And of course, Team Google actually also has picked their charity, and that is actually Doctors Without Borders. For those who are familiar with the old Team Liquid's TLO streams for Doctors Without Borders, he would do like the 24-hour marathon streams for them. But Doctors Without Borders is an international independent medical humanitarian organization that delivers an emergency aid to people affected by armed conflicts, epidemics, and natural and man-made disasters, and exclusion from healthcare in more than 60 countries. So it's a really, really great organization as well. You know what? Here's the kind of cool thing. If you don't have any particular alliances to one side or the other on, you know, Amazon or Google as their AHGL teams, you can kind of just pick charities that you like and say, well, what teams are supporting that charity? Or, you know, you can even just look at what teams, the charities that the teams have supported and go pick teams based on that. But you know, you can kind of decide who you really want to win. Are you more in favor of Child's Play or more in favor of Doctors Without Borders? Which charity do you support a little bit more? And you can root on for that team to win the AHGL, or at least take second or third or anything like that. But regardless, we are going to be jumping into the next game very, very soon. I believe that we're just kind of sorting out some issues with, I think, Metzelmats joining the game. But I want to give a shout out to everyone that's actually participating in the chat right now, in the Twitch chat. Hello to BDantis666. Good to have you. Of course, we still have Cybert in the chat, being a good old troll. I love Cybert's a really great guy. Actually does a lot of Command and Conquer commentary. And of course, Demus the Ness. Always good to have you, man. All of the balls in the right place. I don't think that's actually how the saying goes, but we're gonna go with it because I think that's what the saying is now. I think it doesn't matter what it was before, because that's what we're making it. Players are being very active in the lobby chat, just kind of having a good time. And that's actually a lot of the fun of the After Hours Gaming League. It's kind of like, you know, a lot of these, pretty much everyone here, is actually a requirement for the AHGL teams and the players to actually participate on it, is you have to be a full-time employee of the team that you're playing for. So a lot of these guys, like, I mean, playing is not their full-time job, right? They have a full-time job, and oftentimes it's very, very intense full-time jobs. You know, it's very stressful. There's a lot of late hours sometimes, especially with teams like Amazon and Google. I know that a lot of them are developers or business people who actually have to spend a lot of time just at work, not necessarily playing as much StarCraft. So it's kind of this fun way that the AHGL is building small little communities around not just, you know, the pro elite top level of play, but, you know, the average Joe kind of people that, you know, like StarCraft and they like playing it and aren't sponsored by Ginger Snaps. I just realized I'll move that a little bit out of the way. We can have our good old Zergling in the shot over there. That looks a lot nicer. And immediately there is a delay on the stream, guys, so I do apologize. So I won't be able to interact directly with the chat like that, but Bedantis saying, is there a box of ginger snaps in the background? Yes, I love ginger snaps. Ginger snaps are amazing. All right, but I think the players are finally ready. And I think that we are pretty much set to go into game number 2. Now, for those who don't know, Turing and, of course, Metzelmats both play Zerg, so we're going to having a ZVZ on our hands, which I think a lot of people do consider a slightly volatile matchup, especially if you are not at the absolute tip-top level of play in StarCraft, because there's just so many things that can go wrong. It's a matchup that there's a lot of information that is just very clearly available during the early game stages, but it comes down to a lot of very, very fine controlling micro to make sure that you don't kind of make a big flub and just lose a lot of your Zerglings to Banelings and that kind of stuff. So should be very, very interesting to see how these kind of players deal with that early game micro, as well as the late game macro that actually ends up happening in the later stages, just because we see a lot of roach on roach aggression. Not gonna lie, a lot of roach on roach aggression. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump in and introduce the players as we spawn up here the top side of the map. Vonnie Research Station, loving these new ladder maps. It is going to be the blue Zerg player representing Team Google. It is Google's very own Captain Turing.
Game paused.
And pausing down here in the bottom side of the map, we have the orange Zerg player representing Team Amazon. It is Amazon's Metzelmats. Unfortunately, getting a bit of lag, and hopefully it will get sorted out relatively soon, but, you know, Cicero saying, quickly, switch to the European server. I'm sure that it'll lag less, as pretty much, you know, Metzelmats, actually, for those who don't know, is playing from the EU, and is going to have a little bit of that kind of problem. So it's not like an observer lagging or anything. It's kind of the unfortunate situation of Metzelmats having to play from the EU on the North American server. But regardless, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the map and kind of the matchup, because ZVZ is a very, very fun matchup when you have a Zerg player going up to a fairly large number of minerals and going for the 10 pool. So Turing already opening up with the 10 pool and going to be getting very, very aggressive right from the get-go. Going for the gas guys as well, so this could very well be a 10 pool speedling Baneling all-in. It's a very, very common thing. We'll have to see if he does go for the Baneling nest, because there is all other alterations of this. You can go for 10 pool speed, you can go for 10 pool Bane. But regardless, if Metzelmats goes to the hatchery first, this can get very ugly. And right now, I mean, Metzelmats sitting up at almost 250 minerals, not really saving up for the spawning pool just yet. Going straight for the hatchery first at 15 supply. Is he going to make additional drones? Okay, looks like, oh no, he's making additional drones. So the reason why I'm talking about this, ladies and gentlemen, is because the earlier that you make your spawning pool, the easier it's going to be. Oh my god, and look at this, Metzelmats. Oh, this is going to be brutal. Metzelmats is sending the Overlord straight to the natural expansion. Now, that does mean that he's going to see that there is no natural expansion taken, but there's still a bit of concern. What if your opponent takes the natural expansion on the low ground, the slightly less safe one, so they can have an easier to take third expansion? What if your opponent is just going for, you know, there's all kinds of alterations that I was talking about. There's 10 pool speed, there's 10 pool Bane, there's all kinds of things that you want to have knowledge of. So Metzelmats is going to be seeing this very, very late. We'll have to wait and see exactly how this ends up working out. Unfortunately, I can't actually even communicate with the players right now, as I think the players are just kind of trying to communicate with one of the referees. Now, of course, I think there's a lot of trust between these two teams. It's all in good fun for the most part between these two teams. And, of course, the charity, the money, winning the charity would be very, very nice. But I think that there's a lot of trust in terms of, like, oh, we're not really too worried about, like, players communicating with others outside of game, just because they want to see what's going on. And of course, yes, there is the stream going on.
Resumed.
And anyone that is lagging, that is not the players, can always watch on the stream and get full information on what's going on there. But regardless, let's go ahead and resume back and see what exactly these two players are up to. Because right now, we do have 2 guys in gas. Oh, 3 guys in gas now for Turing. So he is, again, going to have the opportunity to go for those Banelings. Now, here's the way this is going to work out. Metzelmats is going for a very late spawning pool. Now, you need that spawning pool up as early as possible, because you need, first of all, just Zerglings. You need Zerglings and Banelings out. Or, sorry, not even Banelings, just Queens. Queens and Zerglings out to try and deal with this push. And we already have the Zerglings moving across the map. Guess what? The spawning pool is not even, it's only halfway finished up for Mentalmats. Is going to have to rely on that drone micro as these Zerglings now come in and are going to try and do as much damage as possible. We do see speed on the way behind this. No Baneling that's being thrown down. So Turing just going to be going for an overwhelming number of Zerglings and trying to do as much damage as possible. Overlord going to be finishing up, but I don't think he's going to really need that Overlord too badly. He's definitely going to be losing a couple of these drones, I imagine, but doing a great job so far. The problem is Mentalmats is not really getting a lot of mining done. You can see 130 minerals left over right now, but doesn't have enough to start up a queen. A queen would be invaluable right now to try and defend against this, but you can see these Zerglings, they're trying to do as much damage as possible. They're doing a pretty good damn good job of it, as the drones are just here to buy time for more Zerglings to get out. But now they're going to have to man fight it. Here's where it gets a little bit awkward. He can afford to lose more drones. He can afford to go down in the drone count below where Turing is. Because Turing is at 9 drones, but he does not have that natural expansion. Mentalmats has the natural expansion. So, you know what? If he can finally just somehow stabilize, even if he's down 3 or so drones, he's going to have the hatchery. He's going to be able to produce drones a lot faster. He's going to be able to have a little more larvae, going to be able to get out more, just everything, and better mining if he can just stabilize. But now speed is finished up. This is where it gets super awkward. Slow Zerglings versus fast Speedlings. And oh my god, we do actually have the Baneling nest finish up for Turing. He's making the Banelings. The Banelings going in on the drones. I think that this could very well be it. As I mean, the drone count, sure, I was talking about how it can go lower, but there's still Banelings left over. The Speedlings are still doing a lot of damage. And over here, GG gets called. And look at that. Google taking a 2-0 lead in this best of 5 series already. And wow, I mean, I think that a lot of people were expecting a really good series. I think that both of the teams have some very, very skilled players. I'm talking about how Mentalmats, definitely one of the strongest players on Amazon that I think a lot of people consider that. But quite frankly, it was not just build order openings, but it was sort of a little bit of the greed that Mentalmats went for in that game that kind of ended up costing him it. And it was a little bit unfortunate because obviously, you know, you play a little bit greedy, you're taking a chance, but sometimes it could work out, sometimes it can't, if you don't have full vision of what your opponent's up to super early on. But damn, that was a very, very just like clear-cut game of, you know what? We have a Zerg player going for a 10-pool Speedling into Baneling all in, and we have another player that went for hatchery first, made I think what, 2 drones? It may have just been 1 drone, but made 2 drones. Then going for the gas and then spawning pool. I mean, that is about as greedy as you can play it. So, unfortunately, that is the way that sort of build order generally tends to work out. So, very, very well done by Google with a great identification of kind of, you know, what kind of players their opponents are. Of course, there are tons of replays left over from Season 4, from Season 5, even from the previous matches that these two teams have played. So, it's very good knowledge of, you know, little tidbits of like, oh, my opponent likes to play a bit more of a macro oriented stuff, because, you know, these aren't players that necessarily get to, again, play 8 hours a day or something like that, right? They have full-time jobs. They're fully invested into their careers, of course, first. So it's kind of difficult for a lot of players to say, I'm gonna have like a bunch of these micro builds and I'm gonna have a bunch of these macro builds, right? You only really get to practice so much. So players, I will say, tend to have particular styles for the most part. Of course, there are exceptions. There are some players that like to play a wide variety of styles, but, you know, they're kind of more like jack of all trades. They're jack of all trades, master of none. So sometimes you can see Mentalmats, I will definitely say, a player that I know has some great macro, and there might have been a good identification by Team Google to say, you know what, this player has some pretty gosh darn good macro. Maybe his micro isn't as good. Maybe he'll go for the all-in. Maybe he's going to try and play a little bit more macro-oriented and try and play on the, you know, more economic focus side, a little bit on the greedier side. So regardless, Google is going to be going up 2-0. We're going to be jumping into game number 3. Game number 3 is going to be happening on the map Secret Spring. And oh my god, this is going to be a very, very cool match, because I talked a little bit about the rivalry between these two teams earlier on in the broadcast. For those of you tuning in a little bit late, or maybe you're skipping around in the YouTube video, I don't know what's going on. But regardless, Amazon's old team captain used to be a man named Cicero. He's a Protoss player. He's famous for the 4 gates, I will say. Everybody knows he's famous for the 4 gates, okay? I see posts on the internal AHGL Amazon Facebook group about how much Cicero loves his 4 gates. I think even Cicero is very vocal about how much he loves his 4 gates. But this guy we used to be the team captain of Amazon, and what ended up happening was he actually got a new job. We're gonna pretend for the moment, of course this is not actually the case, but we're gonna pretend for the moment that he wanted to so badly to, you know, be the traitor to Team Amazon's AHGL team. He wanted to leave them, discard them, and go to the fabled land of Google in the AHGL team that he heard glorious tales, and so he moved his entire life from Seattle to the Bay Area to now work at Google and be a part of Amazon AHGL Google's team, because, you know, he got sick of AHGL Amazon. Oh, those players, they're just not at my level. Of course, it's all in good fun, guys. Cicero actually very, very good friends with a lot of the Amazon players as well. I know that he actually spent a lot of time with them at IEM San Jose, which is another esports StarCraft event. But regardless, for the sake of the story, Amazon Cicero went to Google, and now he is working for Google. And Amazon has a nice little rivalry going on, talking about Cicero and how he is the traitor to the HGL team because clearly he left because the HGL team was the most important decision in factoring in where he was going to work, of course. But regardless, Bedantis saying, "Who you calling Average Joe?" Oh man, sorry about that, man. Of course, Bedantis, clearly number one player in all of StarCraft. Actually, number one North America at least. I'm just kidding, man. But what's up, T Scuzzy? Good to have you in the chat, as well as a Maybe Cake. Good to have you as well. But anyways, the long-winded story about this is that the caster is ready and the game players are getting ready. But Cicero is going to be playing in the next game, and he's going to be playing against Team Amazon's Anathorn. So we have Team Google Cicero versus Team Amazon's Anathorn. Now, I know that Amazon, for those who don't know, I actually do work at Amazon, so I have a little bit of bias on this, but I also have the inside scoop on what Amazon players are saying and everything. So I know that a lot of Amazon players, they will be giving a lot of weight to this match, not necessarily in terms of even just the series. This is like a best of one show match right now of Amazon versus Cicero, right? And Anathorn is the chosen one that has to fight against Cicero. It's going to be a Terran versus Protoss, which should be absolutely a joy to watch, and we'll see how fast Cicero's foregate actually happens as we go ahead and get ready to jump into this game and introduce the players as we spawn. Over here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, on top of the blue Protoss player representing Team Google, it is Google's very own Cicero. Cicero, also known as Neil, for those who were wondering. And his opponent, spawning up here in the top right-hand corner of the map, Secret Spring, is going to be the orange Terran player, representing Team Amazon, and currently pausing the game. It is Amazon's Anathorn. And it looks like something is off. Neil is AFK or gone. Oh, what? Oh my god, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, okay, we're gonna regame. We're probably gonna end up regame. Okay, so it looks like Cicero went BRB, and the hosts of the lobby did not realize this. Started the game. Oh man, so embarrassing. Oh man, whoever was the host of that lobby, oh, they should feel terrible. And by feel terrible, I mean they should feel, don't really worry about it too. Anathorn's like, it's 2-1 now. You guys forfeited. I mean, you should have said that you weren't ready when you weren't ready. Oh man, but regardless, kind of a little bit funny, and of course, no insult to whoever was hosting the lobby. Of course, I'm very thankful that they don't make, say, me do it or anyone else. It's always a bit of a pain to host those lobbies, so thank you very much to whoever's hosting the lobby. Of course, it can be a little bit annoying when there's like 20 people in the chat spamming like go 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 go, and it's like hard to identify that the one person who does need to be ready is not ready, or like one of the two people who actually are supposed to be playing aren't actually there because they aren't saying anything. You just see go 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 go. But regardless, we are finally going to be jumping into this once again, and the players are actually here this time because Cicero has already said, what the heck, I said I was BRB. Alrighty. But we're gonna go ahead and get ready to jump into the next game. Again, TVP on the map Secret Spring, a very, very fun new map actually that's out. And there's some kind of interesting things that happen with this map. There's those destructible rocks in the center that make it a very, very awkward long distance run across the map. You take out those, there's these destructible rocks in the center. I can actually show you right now. There's destructible rocks over in the center. Let's see if we can actually get a better shot of them. Yeah, right over here. So if you take these out, there's actually, this is the only clear pathway that you can get to your opponent. There's nice round pathways along the top side and the bottom side where there are more destructible rocks, but otherwise, if you take those out, then you have to take out the following series of destructible rocks to actually completely walk across the map without using any kind of medevacs or anything of the sort. So it is a very, very kind of interesting map in that regard if you can take those out. There's also a nice little bit of dead airspace where you can do kind of nice little medevac harassment. You can leave that medevac over in the corner and the stalkers kind of bunch up against the edge, kind of saying, come back here. Oh, you know, throwing their fists over at their opponents like, ah, damn you, medevacs. Why can you float? Why can't we blink off the cliff and then blink back? Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be cool if there was like a research for like an ability where you could just refresh the cooldowns on every single stalker blink, so you could like blink forward and back? If stalkers had 2 blinks, you could blink off a cliff, attack once, and then blink back up to the high ground so that you don't like just fall off into the abyss and die a horrible, horrible death. That would be fantastic. But regardless, as you heard, I'm sure, the game is getting started. We're getting ready to jump into game number 3. Currently, Team Google 1 game away from winning the best of 5 series. Now, I do want to note that a lot of these teams do still like to play it out, even to game number 4, even if it is a 3-0, because they like to have fun and, you know, play StarCraft. That's why they're all playing in these series. So I do hope that you guys decide to stick around regardless of whoever wins this game. And we're going to go ahead and jump in and introduce the players as we spawn up here in the top right-hand corner of the map. On top of the orange Terran player, once again, spawning up at the top right-hand corner, is going to be the orange Terran player representing Team Amazon, Anathorn. And his opponent, actually not AFK, as indicated by the fact that probes are being made. We have the blue Protoss player representing Team Google. It is Google Cicero. May the MC grant me strength. And again, this maybe goes back to MC's reputation as being very good at all-ins. And oh my god, Cicero sending out the starting probe to try and do maybe a little bit of shenaniganry. We have a pylon going down back at home, but this should really throw off Anathorn. Anathorn, I'm wondering if he's going to think that this is like a proxy 2-gate or like a cannon rush. He may overreact to this. Whereas Cicero may just try and play it outside. This may be a big mind game going on. This is actually potentially brilliant from Cicero, but Anathorn is not playing this out too greedy or like crazy right now. He's going for the barracks. It's a little bit earlier than normal. He went for it on 11 supply. But I think that all was well for the most part. Anathorn is not committing too much to this early defense. He's even going for the gas guys. You kind of realize, it's like, wait a second. No, you're not doing anything with this probe. This is just a super early probe. And what a cool mind game to get started with. But Anathorn from Team Amazon, not going to have any of it. He knows that a lot is riding on him to try and make sure that he is able to win this game. Because every single game for Team Amazon is going to be so unbelievably important. They cannot afford to lose anything. And look at this. Cicero going to be going for the Nexus first behind us. This is actually such a cute little play. He goes for the early 6 scout. 6 supply scout. Immediately sends out that probe as soon as the game starts. Tries to put on a little bit of harassment and forces opponent into thinking that there's some early game stuff coming out. But really, he's going for the Nexus first to try and make up for the fact that he went for such an early scout. Gateway comes down behind this. Now, the big concern that I had is if a Reaper came out for Anathorn, I feel like Cicero would be pretty much screwed. He'd just be completely, unbelievably screwed and have very little chance of actually holding it off, just because, I mean, if a Reaper is out and you, first of all, sacrifice early economy to send out that early worker, and then also went for the Nexus first, and then finally going for the Gateway, I mean, you just, your Gateway units that can actually deal with the Reaper would be so unbelievably far behind. You would have a very difficult time defending any of your probes. But we're not going to be seeing that out of Anathorn. In fact, we're going to be seeing the reactor go down on the barracks. We have a couple Marines out. We have a bunker going down. So Anathorn maybe not entirely spooked, but just a little bit spooked. Luckily for Anathorn, you can take this natural expansion very safely. This is a very weird map for Cicero to have gone for that kind of early thing, because Anathorn should have been thinking like, okay, wait a second. I mean, I have an in-base natural expansion. Unless you're going for some kind of really, really weird blink play, we're going to make use of the fact that there is all of this area to blink into the main base. And there's also this big area all along the bottom side where you could blink in. So it's very difficult to tell where your opponent could go for that blink stalker aggression in the main base from. Unless you're concerned about that, it's pretty easy to defend a natural. So it's sort of weird. Anathorn really doesn't have to commit too much to the defense to really feel safe right now. But at the same time, it does sort of make sense. Cicero gonna be able to grab that easy to take natural expansion. There is still the concern of drops coming in from this kind of nice angle over here where Cicero really won't have a lot of vision. I mean, he's got to defend all the way up over here. And he's got to have units positioned all the way down here, up this ramp, and down over to the bottom side, and defend that natural expansion. The main base and the natural expansion actually stretch pretty far. It's a lot of ground to cover for a Protoss player, so I really do like this map a lot for Terran players right now. But regardless, that is under the assumption that a Protoss player is not going for kind of blink stalker aggression. Right now, Cicero already gearing up with the stalker zealot aggression. Finally throwing down that robotic facility to try and maybe get some high ground vision, but really this is just kind of a bit of a scout. And after seeing that bunker, I think that's Cicero going to realize, okay, I'm not going to really accomplish too much. Might wait until that mothership core gets over there so we can try to poke away at that bunker, do little bits and pieces of damage, but maybe just even misrally that mothership over to the other side of the map. Maybe he's going for the scout, but this may very well be a misrally. This does sometimes happen for Protoss players. They're like, okay, I'm going to put on the aggression, and oh, I'm starting to think this is a misrally. Oh, bunker does get a couple shots off on that mothership, takes a little bit of damage, but Cicero does react in time. But the Marines are now going to be moving out. He may be able to force out a photon overcharge, or even just try and hunt down that mothership. If he actually forced out a recall from that mothership, that would actually be absolutely brutal. But I like that Anathorn is doing this. He's scouting around for proxy pylons, making sure that there's no aggression coming out. Does have to be a little bit careful, because, you know, if there was some kind of big aggression or one base all-in coming out, then all those Marines would be out in a very, very uncomfortable place at the time. But he does manage to get back into his main base safely and throws down the scan, sees, okay, you got a robotic facility and a couple of gateways going down. Okay, that's actually all that you really need to know, because you know what? These are not warp gates. That should first of all be a reveal that there's not a massive amount of chrono boost going down, that there was probably some sort of nexus being thrown down if he's really, really on point and determining the timings. But yeah, he should know, like, okay, wait a second. You're probably not all-inning me right now. It's 8 minutes. If you were all-inning me, you would have had finished up Warp Gate. You probably would have had more units out right now. You probably would have come in at all-in me by now. So you can pretty much safely assume, if he's paying attention, that his opponent has expanded and is going up to Robotech. So that does mean that, you know, there could still be a Twilight Council out right now. Oh my god, is this Zealot trapped? I think the Zealot may be trapped. That is actually unbelievably unfortunate if that Zealot is in fact trapped. Because he's going to need everything he can get against this Marine Marauder aggression, as well as that single medevac now. He does have enough energy for a photon overcharge, and very soon will have enough energy for a second photon overcharge. So he can defend against a drop in the natural expansion, but look at how wide and far away this natural expansion ramp is from the main nexus. This entire army can actually move up this ramp if he stands up and the sentry is not paying attention. Oh my god, the mothership core gets killed off. Team Amazon's Anathorn may be looking to start equalizing this series. As he takes out the sentry, and Cicero's just unprepared. If he takes out this pylon, there's zero production. There's going to be 0 units made for Cicero. He doesn't have a photon overcharge either. The Immortal also gets canceled. The probe's trying to transfer over, but I mean, there's only 3 stalkers to deal with this army. The medevac getting focus fire down, trying to deal with some sort of damage, but I think that this just may be it. There's nothing left. GG gets called. Anathorn from Team Amazon with the gambit, with the walk up the ramp, the stim and walk up. What is this? Wings of Liberty? Oh my god, is this like 2010? Am I watching Terran players stimming up the ramp with their fingers crossed saying, I hope he doesn't have a sentry ready to force field me? And there was a sentry, but it wasn't ready to force field, and he managed to get the massive amount of damage done, and he needs to just take the game. So Cicero not quite on point with that sentry force field, and ends up losing it for Team Google. But Team Google still has that nice little lead right now, 2-1. It is by far, by no means over. Amazon still has to win 2 games in a row if they want to take this series. Google only needs 1. And we're going to be jumping to game number 4, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, what a game. We've had some pretty quick games these past couple of series, or past couple of games. But game number 4 is going to be on the map Catalina, Ace Hoy for anyone who's a Base Trade TV follower or subscriber, etc. And I want to thank everyone that's participating in the chat or just even watching right now. I know that a lot of the people watching right now are actually players themselves of the AHGL teams for Amazon or Google. Hopefully it's not the people who are playing right now. That would be against the rules, but don't worry, there is a stream delay for that very reason. And also thank you to Cybert for constantly plugging, follow the channel, blah, 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 etc. Thank you so much for that. And thank you again to T-Scuzzy, Maybe Kig, Demos the Ness, Bidantis666, all of you guys for being active in the chat. It's always a pleasure to have you guys. Even if I can't actually interact with you guys on a real-time basis because there's a 3-minute delay, it's great to have you guys. And thank you everyone who's also watching this on YouTube. As the video will eventually be up on YouTube, and hopefully you guys do decide to check out the live broadcast on Sundays at noon over on twitch.tv/FearDragon64. And of course, the VODs will be over on youtube.com/FearDragon64. And big shout out to Turing also from Team Google, the team captain, always asking if I'm ready. Always asking if I'm ready for the game to get started. I always appreciate when the players ask if the casters are ready and they don't just like go. It's like, oh wait a second, I just want to fill up on water. I'm thirsty. I'm dying. It's great when they actually do kind of consider the caster might be doing something or finishing something up. So I am always ready though, and I'm ready to get started. I think that the color police are happening right now. For those who don't know, also. The AHGL is really great, and all the teams have been really great about sticking with particular colors. They say, like, okay, if game number 1, Amazon is orange, and Google's blue, as we say in this series, then they try and keep it consistent the entire way through. They try and make sure that Amazon is always orange and Google is always blue for the entire rest of the series. So really got to hand it to the teams for being on top of that. I know that I cast a decent number of pro gamers and they are pretty terrible. They are really terrible at that. They are terrible at staying consistent with colors and I hate it. But these teams are amazing. Let's go ahead and jump in and introduce the players. As we spawn here in game number 4, down on the bottom right-hand corner of the map, Catalina, Ace Hoy. It is the orange Zerg player, representing Team Amazon, Zavid. And his opponent spawning up here in the middle center left location, somewhere at 9 o'clock position. Let's go at 9 o'clock. It is the blue Zerg player representing Team Google and currently up 2-1. Isomorphism. And it's going to be yet another ZVZ, so should be a very interesting match. We saw one of the earlier ZVZs that kind of went fairly interestingly, honestly. We had a 10 pool Speedling, Baneling all in, which we're not going to be seeing out of either of these players because to have a 10 pool, you need to be at 10 supply, and both of these players have already passed 10 supply. I don't anticipate either of them are going to pull off half of their drones to kill off 3 of them, and then go for a spawning pool. That doesn't really seem like it might be the best strategy. I mean, I haven't really seen a day 9 daily on it or anything, so maybe it's the new meta, but I'm not too familiar with it. Don't think we're going to be seeing it, but we still could see some kind of nice early aggression. Got a gas guys are going down for isomorphism before the spawning pool, so just making sure they can get up that nice and early Zergling speed. Zavid kind of bypassing it for a little bit longer. Kaiser says hi to Ronan and Julius, so shout out to Ronan and Julius. But regardless, yeah, no gas guys are coming down just quite yet for Zavid, so we'll see if he just delays that for a very long time, or if he's just going to go for a totally gasless style. Now, for those who don't know, gas, very important in ZVZ, because you want to be able to get up that Zergling speed. Zergling speed is so unbelievably crucial in Zerg versus Zerg, just because the mobility of those Zerglings is really difficult to deal with if your own Zerglings are very immobile. Now, we are going to be seeing that gas guys are being taken just a bit later for Zavid, so Zavid is going to get up an eventual Zergling speed, but it's going to be a good minute or so behind his opponent, so there's going to be a nice little bit of timing where Isomorphism can put on some nice aggression with early Zergling speed, and the fact that, you know, he's researching Zergling speed, taking guys off of gas, and has not thrown down that hatchery just yet. He's sending the drone to the low ground, so Ken still is still going to be able to transition out of this. It's not going to be a total all-in, but still, you can make a good 8 or 10 Zerglings and just really try and put the pressure on his opponent, and really try and take advantage of the fact that he's going to have a much earlier Zergling speed than his opponent. Now Zavid, upon seeing these Zerglings, is going to know, okay, you went for the spawning pool first. Of course, Zavid also did go for a nice and early spawning pool. Didn't go for the hatch first or anything. But does have to be a bit careful. Going to be going for a spine collar, maybe anticipating, hey, wait a second. Those Zerglings, are you about to all in me or something? Because they are coming out, 6 of them, I think. No, 4 of them? 4 of them, okay. I learned how to count a long time ago. It's sometimes hard to remember how to do it, but I am accurate now. 4 Zerglings, as the unit counting station does tell me. And Zavid may be overcommitting a little bit to the defense, maybe a little bit over-concerned. But I can't really blame him, because Zavid right now doesn't have a lot of information, hasn't sent this Overlord into the natural expansion, which I think is a bit of a mistake. I really would like to see Zavid just poke it in, see what the timing is of the natural expansion, and then you can move on. Because you know what? You really don't know whether there's a ton more Zerglings coming out behind this until now, until he sees these Zerglings finally being moved out. As he can see, okay, there is a lot of aggression coming down the spine collar, and now finally going to be very, very useful just because he can start to poke away at some of those Zerglings. I love the positioning over here. He's got the queens in the right place, hold position on the ramp. He's got the spine collar covering the left side and the bottom side of this hatchery, as well as also covering any of the Zerglings that try and run over to the ramp and try and take out those queens. So really, really nice positioning over here from Zavid. Has even got this, I think there's only like small little locations like way over here where the spine collar is not covering. So making sure that these drones are mining on the right hand side may be in Zavid's best interest. But isomorphism has made a lot of Zerglings. You can see here in the unit or the workers count that we have 25 workers now for isomorphism. So even though he's made a lot of those Zerglings to try and put on this early pressure, he's actually forced out an even larger reaction out of Zavid. Zavid has made a lot of Zerglings. He's made all these queens. He's missing out on larva injects right now. Look at this. These queens are starting to build up energy. They're not spreading creep or anything. Finally, that queen's going to try to head back and try and get up some larva injects. But I mean, a lot of damage has been done, even though nothing has really been lost. I mean, we have a couple of Zerglings lost on both sides, but the real damage that has been done is the overreaction of Zavid. He's only sitting on 24 workers right now and is finally saying, okay, I can start to drone up again. Layer Tech is also going up behind this, and he does have a Baneling Nest, and, you know, he is mining off of those 2 gas geysers, but he doesn't have 3rd and 4th geysers being taken, which makes me think this isn't some sort of fast, like, tech up to Spire or Mutalisk, which is actually a you know, a relatively common thing to try and do in ZVZ. But I think that Zavid may sort of just, oh, well, no, he's going to be going for the fast Spire. This is very interesting. I guess it kind of makes sense. He didn't really have a very large drone count. He's only just now starting to catch up in that. So he didn't really have enough drones to really effectively mine both minerals and gas. He probably would just be starving for minerals if he tried to grab these 3rd and 4th gas geysers. But I really feel like now is the time where he should be thinking about that. So the reason why I talk about that is because really when you go for those early Mutals, what you want to do is be able to use those Mutals to either take out your opponent's Banelings and Zerglings, etc. to be very solid on defense and clean up your opponent's overlords, or you want to be able to put on the pressure, and 4 or 5 Mutals are not going to be able to do a whole lot. You can even see that right now, Zavid is producing these Banelings over here. They're trying to defend against this big pressure that Isomorphism is trying to do. Isomorphism takes out the spine collar, but is it actually enough? It's taking a lot of the Zerglings as well, but 2 of these Banelings are going to be morphing in, and they may be the saving grace over here for Zavid. The Zerglings are very well controlled. Oh, actually managed to get the detonations off on both of those Banelings without really taking too much damage over here, so they're going to be able to continue that pressure. Does not have too many Zerglings rallying in across the map, though. He's going to have to make do with whatever units he has right now, and that is actually a pretty decent number of these Zerglings. He's already managed to kill off a lot of... Oh my god, do I have sound turned off? No, I do not. It's just super low for some reason to me. But regardless, 13 workers killed right now. He's brought down Zavid's armies or worker supply down to 21, which is actually pretty devastating right now. But here's the thing, Zavid still does have some of those Mutals potentially on the way, but no, he doesn't. He didn't start making them. Oh no. This is actually really brutal. So here's the problem right now. Zavid invested in layer tech. Zavid invested into getting all that gas mined. He had to make Banelings instead with that gas. And he invested 200 gas into the Spire, and he hasn't made a single Mutals with it. He's making 3 Mutals now, but I mean, at this point, it's way too late. It should be, these Mutals should not do any damage. Isomorphism has the queens. He has the Spore Collars already sitting and waiting in the main base, because guess what? Those Zerglings ran into the main base. They saw that Spire. And really, what is Zavid going to be able to do? The one thing that he does have going for him is the fact that, look at the army supply, or the worker supply. He's down 15 worker supply, but the army supplies are relatively similar. You can see that Zavid's only down about that 10 supply. that he's down in workers. So he still has an opportunity to do some damage, especially with the Overlord pickoffs he's going to be getting. But look at this. Isomorphism, 63 supply out of 92. So, I mean, he can start producing some more of these Overlords. He can afford to actually lose all of these Overlords. He's going to be in the dark, but he's not actually going to be dead. He's not actually going to be losing like a B supply block by any means. It's a little bit awkward. I guess it works out very well for Isomorphism. Maybe he started producing those Overlords much earlier on, anticipating the Mutals to be coming out earlier. But really nice cancel over here for Zavid. Managed to kill off that third expansion and kind of equalize this for a little bit longer. But oh god, Zerglin gets back in the main base, sees, okay, you're not really mining off of your second gas guys from the main base, so you're probably not producing. Well, actually, no, he is producing. Oh, I've got to feel like this is a mistake. I feel like Zavid did not mean to pull all the guys off of this gas geyser, because if you're producing Mutals, you want every Mutals you can afford, every Mutals you can spare. Even if you're on 39 workers, it's so unbelievably useful to have that high Mutals count, because you just keep your opponent home. Even with the Hydrals in the mix, you can just try and harass your opponent and make sure that the Hydrals can't really move out easily. And, I mean, picking off the Overlords is also a nice little call. If you want to go up to at least 10 Mutals, because 10 Mutals can really start to harass and pick off Queens, etc. After that, it does get a little bit awkward if you try and get too high of a Mutals count, because you can just die to those Hydralist pushouts, but we'll wait and see if that actually ends up happening. I love that Zavid just continued to deny this third expansion, though. This is a really great play, because sure, these Hydrals can easily deal with those Zerglings, but it's kind of awkward, because you don't want the Mutals to be coming in from the main base like this and pick off Queens, so you want to make sure that the Hydrals are able to defend in the main base, and also make sure that the Queens are there. But at the same time, you need the Hydrals to defend the natural, and make sure there's not a Zergling run by over there, and make sure that the third expansion is also defended. So it gets very awkward for Team Google's Isomorphism to try and defend all of those fronts. I think he's doing a pretty decent job so far, but he really does want to get up that third expansion, especially since Zavid has already gotten up his third now, and it's starting to equalize a little bit. I mean, the worker count is not nearly as far behind as it used to be. The big thing that Isomorphism has going for him is the fact that he just killed off all those Mutals, and he's sitting up a large amount of army supply, and just has a better army. Now some of the Overlords even being lost for Zavid. Zavid not in too much danger right now, but I think that these Zerglings are going to be a key critical thing. I love that Zavid again is doing this. He's just moving with his Zerglings. He's trying to buy himself time. He goes into the main base. Look at this, the entire army of Isomorphism having to pull back to deal with these Zerglings. Nice transfusing going down. He's not going to be losing too many workers or anything, but he's losing time, and that's giving Zavid time that he needs to pull up his own army to get up spine callers. Now, here's the thing. I still don't think that Zavid has enough. He still needs to buy himself more time if he wants a chance in this game, because, I mean, quite frankly, he's sitting 76. Wait a second. Zavid is producing more drones. Oh, no. I think this is a terrible misidentification of the situation from Zavid. Zavid does not realize that this army is moving across the map. I think if he realized what was going on, he'd be producing non-stop Zerglings, Banelings, and Mutalists right now. Just units to defend. Oh, God. A couple of the Mutals even going to be picked up. He is most certainly going to be losing this third expansion. I like that Isomorphism doing a good control on those Banelings. Make sure not to just sacrifice him on the Queens, because really, what does Zavid have right now? I don't think he really has a whole lot, and this could be the moment where Team Google is going to be able to take this series and take it 3-1. He's going to be charging forward. He's got Banelings, he's got Mutalists, Roaches, he's got Hydralists. Oh my god, that was a lot of really good damage from those Banelings. I mean, there's only one Mutalist or Hydralist left over, so that was all the anti-air, but Zavid he has lost the Mutalist count too many times. He can't really afford to deal a lot of damage over here. The Zerglings are coming out in okay numbers. Is he actually going to be able to defend over here? I think he will. And he actually is even on the work account. Oh my god, what is happening? The Baneling hits are just beautiful over on the ramp, and he cleans up all of the Hydrals, giving the opportunity for the Mutalists to clean up the remainder of the Roaches. Even though the Roaches do have those really great armor, that +1 armor as well, so they have 2 armor. They're taking next to no damage from these Mutals that are only dealing like 7 damage. That's almost like 25% of the damage that they would normally do. And still, the Mutals are able to clean it up. It's still not a great position for Zavid. I would still say Zavid, I think, is in a bit of an awkward position. He's lost that third expansion, and Isomorphism still has his. But it seems overcomable now. Suddenly, it seems like it's doable. The Mutals are starting to get up actually back to 10 Mutals. You can start to harass back in the main base, start to maybe picking off a gas geyser is actually a great move if you can do that. Just cut down that gas income, cut down the potential for infestors, which are coming out right now. Pathogen glands also coming out as well, so Couple of these infestors that are popping out right now, I think may have a little bit too much. Oh no, no infestors out just yet. So actually timing that out perfectly. I take it back. Isomorphism, a much better Zerg player than I, knowing exactly how long it takes for the infestors to pop out. And for those who are wondering what I'm talking about, if the infestors are researching, or the infestation pit is researching the fungal or the extra energy for when infestors pop out upgrade, you want to time your infestors to pop out like 2 seconds after that upgrade finishes, and Isomorphism did a great job of that because they actually managed to get the upgrades the fastest that you can get infestors with that upgrade out. And the infestors, if they are able to get that big money fungal growth down on top of the Beetles who are all stacked right now. Oh, he gets a lot of them right now. The Hydra's gonna be able to absolutely rip them apart. The Beetles going back in once again, and the 3 of them that did manage to escape get taken out. Oh no, I think that once again Zavid gonna be in a very, very awkward situation. Oh no, his chances of coming back in this game look like they just plummeted down the hole alongside those Beetles as they just fell to the ground, absolutely obliterated by the DPS of those 1/1 Hydralists. And this could, if I honestly feel like if Isomorphism gets like a Spore Caller or 2, it just moves out. What is there going to be from Zavid? He's got Banelings. He is looking to make a miracle happen once again. If he can get the miracle hits off on top of those Hydras, on top of those Infestors, this could maybe work out. But Isomorphism morphing in Banelings of his own. If actually Isomorphism leads with his own Banelings, he can get some potential for some great shots off on those Banelings to stop them. I mean, it only takes 2 Banelings to kill off your opponent's Baneling. So if he can get a large clump of these Banelings grouped up by Zavid, he could actually do this. But the Banelings are leading in the back right now for Isomorphism, so not quite prepared for this. He also has fungal growths available. You can fungal growth Banelings, actually. It's quite effective, and he does not throw them down. The Infestor's actually getting obliterated, but the Banelings not getting the hits off on the Hydras. The Hydras sit in the back comfortably. GG gets called, and Isomorphism from Team Google taking game number 4 and bringing the series to a 3-1 victory for Team Google. Very well played by both of the teams. I've got to just say that right there. Some very enjoyable games, and they honestly look like Zavid may have been able to make the comeback happen in that game, but not quite able. It was a good attempt. It was a very, very good attempt. But Team Google takes the series 3-1, an improvement over their 4-3 victory last time in the quarterfinals of the playoffs from Season 4. Now saying, you know what, we're not even gonna bring it to the ace match this time. We're gonna just take it 3-1. Next time we play you, Google's gonna take it 3-0 or 4-0, whichever one actually ends up happening. Wherever they finally encounter each other once again. Maybe they will encounter each other in the playoffs because both of these teams are very much favorites to make it to that playoffs. But really, really great series out of both of these teams. And I think that is going to be it. So guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. Congratulations again to Team Google on your victory. I'm also very proud of Team Amazon because normally they are the ones that love to spam the chat. They are infamous for it amongst many people and teams and also casters. But they did a pretty good job. So applause. They didn't do it too much. They didn't spam it too badly today. So thank you so much to Team Amazon and Team Google for being such a pleasure to cast, showing some great games, giving some great spectator comments, and not over flooding it. And thank you everyone to actually decide to tune in. And be sure to check out more of the After Hours Gaming League. You can follow them over on at AHGL TV over on Twitter. And of course, any more information you want to see is over at afterhoursgaming.tv. And my name is Fear Dragon. In case you aren't too familiar with me, I do StarCraft commentary for the After Hours Gaming League. I also do StarCraft commentary for the CSL over on twitch.tv/CS Star League if you ever want to tune in for that on Saturdays. But I do a show about North American StarCraft 2 players. I cast a lot of other things. I'm going to actually be casting the ESL Weekly, which is going to have a lot of really, really solid North American StarCraft players playing in it later today. And I do just general StarCraft stuff. So if you want to follow my channel over here on twitch.tv/FearDragon64 or youtube.com/FearDragon64, I would very much appreciate it. I also have a Twitter at FearDragon64. So basically, if you just like look on sites and it's like, I wonder if Fear Dragon has an account here that is StarCraft related, look up FearDragon64 and I probably have an account. The only place that I think that's not the case is Team Liquid, where I'm just Fear Dragon. There's no 64 at the end. But regardless, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you guys. My kind of philosophy on ads is that I don't really like watching ads, so I tend to just leave them to the very end. So if you guys do decide to stick around for the ads, I'm very much appreciative of that. If you're watching this on YouTube, you've already watched the ad, and thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful day, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, or if you're like Metzelmats in the Europe, then I hope you enjoyed your weekend, and have a wonderful night, have a wonderful day, have a wonderful evening. And if you do decide to leave the stream open so you can tune in for the ESL Weekly in about, I want to say 2 hours-ish, in about 2-ish hours, then I would very much appreciate that. And have a wonderful day. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and see you next week with more After Hours Gaming League.